Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. I am so excited. I've literally been thinking about this show for days now because I'm so excited to share with you this. This is the Crosley CT100 cassette tape player. That is right, you guys. We've done tape stuff before, we really have. But tapes were huge this year at CES. And although it's nowhere near the size of the vinyl resurgence, it's kind of growing. In fact, cassette tape sales are like the highest they've been in like 20 years. That's not saying a lot, but at the same time, they are growing. So there is this kind of resurgence. Now this is right in my wheelhouse because I grew up in the 80s and 90s and I had tape players, I had tapes, I had New Kids on the Block on cassette. I had my Michael Jackson Bad album on cassette tape. I literally wore it out listening to this thing, had to buy a second one. So this was like my baseline for media growing up. And this looks super, super cool. Saw this out at CES, and it's cool. And it's got kind of an interesting story too, which you're gonna find out here in a minute. But we're gonna unbox it, we're gonna review it, all that good stuff. You're not gonna wanna miss this.
This is Record-ology.
Now this product is actually made for Crosley by a company called Littleton, and it makes some really cool retro looking players. A lot of cassette stuff is sort of their specialty, and I hope we get a chance to review some of that in the future because these things look awesome. So the CT100 began life as the LT8400U, and here it is. The box is awesome looking. I love this new packaging. They like to come out with new packaging sometimes after CES, and this thing looks gorgeous. I love the pictures. We got some stats on the back there and a great product photo. So without further ado, let's dig right into it, you guys. I've been so excited about this. I'm really excited to do more on cassettes. You guys voted that this is something that you want to see more of, and I am happy to oblige because this is completely in my wheelhouse. I grew up as a kid in the 80s, and I am used to Montgomery Wards radios, RCA radios, things with wood grain, in this sort of textured plastic, and this is completely, right up my alley. So I'm very excited to hear. Okay, so let's go ahead and untwist the tie on the power cord here. It feels like a really high quality power cord actually. You've got your warranty information. You always want to hold on to that, stick that someplace safe. You never know if you're going to need it. Now here's the manual. The manual is actually pretty hefty, but and it does give you a how-to on all of the major functions. This thing does a lot of surprising stuff, but then as often happens, you realize that it's repeated in like 4 languages, so you don't need the whole thing. Simple foam blocking and an anti-static wrap, and we pull it right out and we are ready to go. It's kind of pre-built all in one, which is really cool, and I'm so excited, you guys. This is gonna be super, super cool. It looks like there's a little film placed on different aspects of this device. I think that's a good sign of quality. They want to make sure that it reaches you without scratches. There's plastic on everything, so getting that all removed, and we are ready to go and take a closer look at it. And it's got a good heft to it. It's heavier than I thought it would be. The handle on it is substantial, and it really feels right off the bat like those Montgomery Wards radios that I grew up with. You've got the battery compartment here, so if you want to put batteries in it, I'll just be powering it off of the power cord. But there it is, you guys. It's good size, and the design is consistent, with what I grew up with, sort of this black plastic and chrome look, which I think looks phenomenal. There's the antenna on the back there. And now, I know I said the cord is, high quality, but look at this thing, guys. It is a heavy gauge quality cord. There really is a difference. The eject mechanism on the tape has a gradual descend, and as people have noted, that's kind of a sign of quality right there. There's only one company making cassette mechanisms anymore, but there are different levels of quality of those cassette mechanisms, and this one seems high. The radio tuner is, I think, a string tuner, and you can kind of feel it as you twist it. Very reminiscent of the way it used to be, and I love this design aesthetic. Just gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous. Completely vintage feel to it. This totally screams late 70s, early 80s. And look at the texture of the plastic. It's got sort of that knurled plastic texture that we're used to if you grew up with these types of things. So they took the time to put the textures in there, and I think that's really, really, really cool. Now, on top of here, you're going to see the modern technology showing through. So we've got transport controls for the SD card and the USB, and yes, it will record to those as well. And the buttons are substantial. They've got a good snap to them. Obviously, there's a lot of plastic on this, but the parts seem to do the job. The paddle switches for the input select. You read that right, guys. Look closely there. This is a shortwave radio. It does AM, FM, and shortwave radio. You've got a tone control, and kids, tone control is what we had before bass and treble controls. Basically, it combines bass and treble into one knob. And obviously a volume control there. The knobs do the job. They don't have a whole lot of drag, but they're not, like super flimsy. They feel like, they'll last and whatnot, which is really, really, really cool. But the big question is, guys, what is this thing going to sound like? It can look great, but if it doesn't actually function, then it's really missed the mark. So I'm very curious to hear what this is going to sound like. So let's listen to some of the radio functions. We're going to try out AM, FM, and shortwave. Here we go.
That would be cold. You cried like a baby, don't. Baby, I know you're wondering why I don't know.
You know it? You're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers.
This is gonna be an all night.
Preserve what's priceless. Check out Epson Fast Photo Scanner, available.
Not really a huge surprise, but I couldn't get any shortwave during the day. I'll have to try again at night. Now time for the clickety-clack and snap of the tape mechanism. Let's go ahead and test it out next. The sound is actually really good. It's probably one of the better modern tape mechanisms that I've heard. It's got a little bit of motor noise, but that's expected. It seems to rewind and fast forward nice and fast, which is good. The box says that it's auto stop, so we'll have to test that out and see if it works good. So that squealing is actually the tape after it's rewound, and it doesn't trigger the auto stop, which isn't good. So you need to make sure you hit stop once it reaches the end so it's not tugging on that tape. Okay, now as you can see, there's a microphone right next to the speaker on the front, so we are going to go ahead and test out the recording capabilities and then play it back. So here is the recording test. Okay, this is a test, Record-ology testing out this retro Crosley CT100 tape recorder / FM, AM, FM radio, shortwave, etc., etc. Very cool device so far. Anyway, just testing out the sound quality of the microphone and the built-in record capabilities. So now let's rewind it, and we're going to go ahead and play back our recording. Guys, it's not going to sound like studio grade by any means, but it'll get the job done for notation and whatnot. Is a test, Record-ology testing out this retro Crosley CT100 tape recorder / FM, AM, FM radio, shortwave, etc., etc. Very cool device so far. Anyway, just testing out the sound quality of the microphone and the built-in record capabilities. Now up here, this is really cool. As you can see, we've got USB and SD. You can record or play back from anything on here. So you can record the radio, record tape, play it back, and let's test out the USB first. And just listen to what the music sounds like from there. Playing from a digital source, that speaker is actually really mighty. It also does Bluetooth, but we're not going to test that out today. These other functions are super exciting. time to test out the recording capabilities. So I tested out the recorded file. It is 128K, pretty standard, but decent sounding MP3. Okay guys, I hope you thought that was as awesome as I did. If you want to snag one of these, check the link in the description below, you guys. And tell me your stories about cassettes. Do you remember cassettes? Do you love cassettes? Is it as exciting as vinyl to you? I think it's really interesting. Any kind of physical media now, to me, is just super, super cool. But I love the electronics. I love the devices. And this is very reminiscent of a lot of things that I had as a kid and grew up with. Usually what I had were hand-me-downs. So this may be my very first new one, who knows? But anyway, I hope you thought that was cool, you guys. If you like this show, this specific episode, check us out this Wednesday, because we're going to be doing something else that I think you're also going to like. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Happy record and tape hunting. We'll see you next time.